Here we go. Welcome to another episode of Hangry, Caveman. Today we've got Darrell Wilson. Darrell Wilson is a personal trainer, an old friend of mine. We met up back in the old days at LA Fitness. We can still say that nowadays. And general nice guy. So, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. Yeah, just getting used to life. It's changed a lot over the last month or so.
Wow.
But no, well, still smiling, still happy.
That's good. That's good. I mean, this seems to be the reoccurring interview start. Everyone's talking about this COVID-19 lockdown.
We can't get away from it at the moment, can you?
Oh, no, we can't, man. I mean, how are you dealing with it then?
Do you know what? I'll be honest, in the first initial stages, there's a lot of uncertainty about it, right? So I didn't really know what's going to be happening with business. Didn't really know what's going to be happening with my personal life. But I think since the lockdown's been put in place, it's put in perspective for me that I've had to kind of adapt my style of business towards it. So I've been looking into a lot of like online stuff with clients, been recording a lot of content to put onto YouTube as well. So I've just been trying to like keep creative. I think the worst thing you can do is kind of let it defeat you. A lot of people are kind of in this fear-based mentality with it, and I've just been trying to keep happy and just been adapting with it. Yeah. How about yourself?
Pretty much the same. Yeah, the first couple of weeks, I mean, I was expecting this lockdown to happen. Wasn't panicking, but it was expecting. First week was awful. First week I was just, right, this isn't happening right now. This can't be happening. But, you know, business side of things, and then you put, like you said, personal life, business, everything's just gone upside down. But then, like, because I'm back in Penrith, it's a lot quieter, giving me time to reflect on what's happening around me. Yeah. And kind of meditated on it, think on it, and chilled on it, and now started with this project, just doing what we can right now. I mean, that's all we can do. We're not even out there. There's nothing you can control.
That's the thing, isn't it? Control's taken, and I'm probably similar to you back in the day, obviously, where we knew each other at LAX. Yeah. Quite active from the job that we do. So we express ourselves physically, right? Yeah. So one of the hardest things is to be confined within your own home, within your own kind of like the spatial area where you can't actually express yourself and get out. So you've kind of got to go kind of within and kind of be creative in different ways.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember back in LA days, you were one of the junior guys who's whenever you got downtime, you're the guy who's sitting outside studying. I mean, there's not many guys who, especially at junior level, will start thinking about studying and progressing in this industry. I mean, you were definitely one of the guys who were like, oh man, this guy has got something about him, and your mentality and approach to training as well, man.
Yeah, but you know what it was? He was looking at guys like you and some of the other guys that were more experienced. You know what I mean? But we had this kind of team of PTs there, and okay, we had a lot of people that come and went. But we had some very, very high level PTs, and that set the tone for the environment we was in. So you kind of come in as like a young PT and experience, and you look at the guys that are doing really well, that are really knowledgeable, and you say, what do they have right now that I don't? And the key is experience and knowledge. So for me, in the early stages, it's about developing that experience and knowledge as quickly as I could. And I was passionate about it as well. I generally enjoyed sitting there and studying and learning, because at the end of the day, it was complementing my clients, and I was seeing the results based on that.
I mean, while we were out going for coffee breaks, you were sitting there chilling out with your knowledge level and knowledge books. If I remember, what was the first of you were starting? Did you get onto the whole Chek thing, or did we put you onto that?
So I remember hearing, I can't remember specifically what it was, I mean, we used to have conversations left, right and centre with everybody, but I used to hear Paul Chek come up quite a lot. Yeah. So I enrolled on his foundation course to begin with. Okay. It's brilliant. You've got the scientific back training, scientific core training, the movement assessments and things like that. He kind of opened my mind to kind of like the deeper levels of personal training. Deeper levels of just movement and the body in general. Yeah. So I think that was the first real kind of deep dive into the science behind what we do.
It was kind of push you into this more holistic, more general side of training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I still follow some of his stuff now. I mean, I didn't go down the further levels that he does on his courses, but he's a fascinating guy to listen to. And when you look at the wealth of experience and knowledge that he's got, if we ever come out with half the knowledge that he's got, we've done a good job.
Yeah, man. I mean, but the thing is like Paul Chek, great guy. It's so knowledgeable, but some of the stuff he comes out with is for even open-minded people like me and you and others. He's like, whoa.
Well, this is because he's incredible at what he does. But the biggest thing for me when I was looking at what I wanted to study was how do I apply it to the clients I'm working with.
Yeah.
And when you start going further into Paul Chek and some of the wild things that he comes out with, it kind of goes beyond that level of how you can kind of take that information and give it to someone, because you can just blow someone's mind. So then I went down the route of studying with Dax Moy. Dax was a very simplistic approach. He looks at neuroscience behind behavioral change. So he basically took the kind of psychology of a client and said, right, before we start making changes and impacts on people's lives, let's look at the struggles they have to begin with. And he explained it in terms of, you know, if you're sitting in a car and you're trying to drive down a hill, but you've got the handbrake on and you're pressing your accelerator on the gas, you can only get so far until you release that handbrake. So he says the first thing that you should do with clients is find out their struggles, find out the things that that's basically holding them back. And that went into like the psychology of overwhelm, the psychology of stress, the psychology of the brain, so we can put ourselves into the client's perspective and understand from their point of view how to help them. So I started going down that route instead of the deep dive into Paul Chek, and found great success in it.
Great, man. I mean, like the human body carries this stress with them, mental stress and physical stress, and all the previous life experience. We carry that all, but a lot of people want to dive into it. I mean, rightly so. I mean, there's a lot of painful memories in people's life. It's hard.
I remember studying recently into like bioenergetics. I don't know if you looked at that much before.
No, man. Explain.
Yes, it's basically about how, similar to what we're saying, how the body stores trauma. And bioenergetics is like a form of release of trauma through movement through the body. So some of the methods are a little bit out there and a little bit crazy. I mean, they involve like chanting and jumping up and down on your feet, sending vibrations through your body. But it's all about breaking up muscular tension. And it explains about how when we have like a fearful experience, one of the things that our bodies does is tighten up. And what happens when we tighten up is we go into this fight or flight kind of mentality. But a lot of times the body learns that trauma. So if we're going through regular traumatic experiences, we can get a lot of tightness in our traps, a lot of tightness in muscles where we kind of tense up and freeze. And this kind of bioenergetic therapy is a way of completely releasing trauma. And I mean, you hear kind of stories of people that have like complete breakdowns and they're crying and they're all this emotion that comes out of their body that they've never really addressed before. So I've been studying that we've got a couple of books in a year or so, kind of dive into it.
That's awesome. I mean, that I definitely have to chat to you a bit more in detail about. I mean,
something I'm trying to learn a little bit more about at the moment, but I'm sure further down the line we can dive into that.
When we get out of this quarantine, we'll go for a coffee and we'll chat about this. Because definitely. I mean, what I was about to say is this happens a lot more than your average trainee would think about. How much breakdown, how much stress they're carrying. 90% of the time, they don't even know it themselves. I have like guys, girls, like full-grown men breaking down during training sessions, especially in the city. I mean, there's the amount of stress these guys are carrying through with them.
It's incredible. I mean, I was at LA Fitness for 3 years. One of the reasons that I actually left, I mean, you'll probably learn a little bit about this now because it was quite sudden that I left there and moved to PT in my local town, is I became completely overwhelmed with the stress of working up there. I mean, I was pulling like 12, 13-hour days, getting up at 6 a.m., getting on the train, getting home to 8 and 9, and I didn't even realize I was stressed until in the third year I was getting constant headaches. I wasn't feeling as energetic as what I usually did, and it led to the point where I actually had a physical panic attack when I was lying in bed one night. Just the anxiety was just through the roof, and I didn't recognize it because I'd never been in this state before. That I realized that I had to kind of change something, and it was either reducing the hours that I was working or kind of coming out of the environment and changing the way that I work. But that's what it's like up in the city. I mean, it's not the same for everyone.
It is what it's like, but it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. I mean, on episode 2, me and Jason were talking about the old days. And me getting my hangry side back out, that's what pissed me off. I mean, I'm being truthful now. I mean, like, I see you guys, I mean, genuine guys who comes in, junior PTs who want to make it and want to make a difference in our industry and actually want to help people, but they can't. A, because the financial stress that you guys have to carry on your shoulders at your level. B, the corruption that goes down in the commercial gym. And C, the people who looks after you guys are not looking after you at all. I mean, the direct person you talk to is not their fault, his or her fault, but it's the company behind it all. Yeah. It's so financially driven to the point where they want you to fail to make money because you guys are failing.
Well, before I started, I had to fork out £400 to £500 on a business course, which I still say today is the worst course I've ever done. I learned more just being in the gym and being around you guys who are experienced. Learn how to pick up clients and how to keep clients. So by the time you're into month 1 and month 2, you're almost $2,500 down. Yeah, I think me and Jason worked out. I think it was £5,000 or £4,500 by the end of that 3 months they made out of every single junior PT. Yep. And that turnover, isn't it? They want that turnover rate. Why not? Yeah. Especially if they can't get a membership and driving the membership from sales side. That's the fastest way to make money, carrying off juniors. And that's why in our industry, I remember we sat there once and I think we counted the amount of personal trainers that have been in there over the 3 years. And I think we're into like the 60s, and that's just it's a stupid number. Yeah. I mean, the inside was I was meant to be the last full-time PT in that place. I was number 23 or 24. And then a year later, a year, 2 later, it's starting to creep up. I mean, I think they wanted about 40 PTs at LA. Yeah. So, geez, that's just doing the maths for them. Man. But the thing is that I think you would have noticed as well that the shift in kind of quality of personal training just changed so much from year 1 to year 3 that I was there. And by the end, it's kind of, you look at, I remember actually Shaf, he was explaining kind of like the mentality of PT, and it's kind of like you're selling champagne to people who don't know what champagne is, right? So the quality of personal training from one personal trainer to the whole floor, it has this kind of general kind of buzz to it. Yeah. And I remember in the early days, it looked brilliant. We had quality personal trainers who were attentive to their clients, who it just looked so professional, and you could learn from them. And then by the end, just the way that the company went, it just looked like almost like a circus. I mean, at first, when Jason was on about, he felt he was really fortunate to be in that place, which we were. I mean, definitely the guys that were there, man, we made that place work for whatever it was worth. Yeah, we enjoyed it, but at the same time, it comes to financial stress and everything else being in the city, right? Well, if I hadn't had the experience of working there, there's no way I'd have the success I had now working in I'm in an area that doesn't have as much personal training going on. There's not as many PTs in the gym I'm at. There's probably not as many. And you're taking that work rate back into somewhere a little bit easier to manage, right? Yeah, that's right. But the experience that I built from those 3 years of working with guys like you, with having the actual financial stress. My head's getting too big for this camera now, man. But that's what taught me the skills to be able to do what I do today. So I'm grateful for it. It's great to see like success stories, man. I'm being truthful now. I appreciate it, man. Well, I say you made great strides over the last few years as well. Oh man, like the grass is always greener on the other side, man. The grass is always greener on the other side. I'm trying to stay afloat. I'm just trying to do my thing, but it's a hard industry to make if you're being an honest person, and I'm trying to have my own values to put in, and I'm trying to keep to them. Well, I think touching on what we began with, which is obviously the topic that everyone's talking about now, this COVID-19, the coronavirus, it gives us an opportunity, which I think now is to reflect. Yeah. And we've got a few months now to kind of look at the direction we want to take our business in, or look at the direction we just want to take ourselves in generally. Yeah. It's definitely given me some ideas of how I want to adapt and change things going forwards. Because the problem is that when we're in our business, it can be sometimes very hard to work on your business at the same time, especially if you're very busy. So now's the prime time. We can work on it, we can grind, we might be moving more digitally, we might have new ideas, but I'm sure you and I, by the end of it, will come out stronger. Yeah, I mean,
I would never have done this. I would never have started it. I had the idea of it, but would never have started it.
Yeah.
If this didn't happen.
Mm.
I mean, like me and you, pretty much the same thing on this kind of way of life, and slowing everything down and think of it and reflect on the situation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Can't make a massive plan more than 2-3 weeks ahead, and definitely not right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes you need complete silence and complete, almost like distraction to actually come up with ideas.
Yeah,
because you reflect on things. And
at the moment, I'm not in London, and I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
waking up by birds singing every morning, so I can't really grumble at that. And it's given me time to reflect on a lot of things, man, which is great.
Yeah, cool. I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel that as the weeks have gone on, you've become kind of less stressed with the situation? You've become
I wouldn't say it's so much less stressed, but it is noticeably less stressed compared to the first initial. Well, in March anyway. I just remember March and April timeline.
But I think it was the uncertainty, wasn't it? I mean, I remember the last couple of weeks before they closed gyms, it was the not knowing what was going to happen that was actually causing stress and anxiety in me. Because, you know, I can't really give the answers to my clients. You know, they're saying, do you think the gym's going to be open next week? Is it going to be the week after? And I don't know. So it's that kind of uncertainty that's the kind of the most stressful the thing that we have. So now it's the time that we know the situation. We know that we're in this for at least 3 months. So let's just make the best of it we can.
Yeah, I mean, what have you adapted? What I mean, like, as in work-wise, what have you changed in the last few weeks?
So it's interesting. Over the last year, I've been developing online programs. So I was using My PT Hub. I don't know if you've heard of them before. So they're like a one-to-one personal training app. So you can upload videos onto there. You can create client programs. Okay. My idea over the last year was I was going to create this massive package of online training with all these different videos that people can do at home and in the gym, and just launch like an online personal training program. Now, I hadn't quite finished it. So by the time the lockdown came in, I've been like racing this last couple of weeks to get as much information done as possible. I've been over the park with a girlfriend. She's been kind of recording videos of me doing training things that I've been uploading. So hopefully within 2 weeks, I'll be able to launch some like home training programs for
Have you got a website there they can find us on? Just tell people now before I forget.
You know what? So I haven't actually got a website set up at the moment. Okay. I've got a domain bought with GoDaddy. So that might be the next thing I set up.
Well, they can find you on Instagram and Facebook, right?
So if you on Facebook, it's DW Holistic Fitness. The same on Instagram. On Instagram, I've got a little link as well towards the online programs that I'm creating, so people can find me on there. So hopefully, maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll do another podcast and I'll give you an update of
man, definitely. I mean, well, we were on now, lost from train track. So yeah, we're Instagram.
Oh yeah, so sorry, yeah, following on from where I was. So that's been my biggest adaptation in the last couple of weeks. It's been trying to really push forwards with the online coaching now, trying to get things completed, and having the mentality that all the admin work that we do in between clients, so looking at client nutrition plans, programs, I'm looking to kind of condense that information down and make things more simpler for me. So I'm looking at creating like preset recipes that are good, that can be adapted to clients, just fun things for clients to do. As well as say recording videos and stuff that I need in the future. So it's going to be a busy 3 months for me. Busy 3 months not getting paid, but I'm pretty sure by the end of it,
you put in the work. You put as much work in. It's your own business, man. You always get it back.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you look at the amount of extra hours we do anyway. I mean, this is just the time that we
counting after the first month of PT, and you just can't start counting. Man, there's no way of counting this.
Yeah, that's incredible. But how about for you? Because obviously you've got the podcast.
This thing, this is my latest baby project now. So hopefully we'll get this. Well, it's just a platform for me to rant and get this information across. There's a lot of things, I mean, within our industry are not often talked about in front of cameras or videos or on any platform. We always see the bright and shiny, six-pack ripped up guy, or like the big booty girl walking around. I mean, that's what people think PTing is.
There's
a lot of guys in our industry, like yourself and a few other guys that we're going to be bringing on board already. We realise is actually no, it isn't about just lifting weights. It isn't actually just counting to 12 and standing next to your guy. And our work goes a lot deeper, and how much more work is involved being a good personal trainer or strength conditioning coach.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that as a personal trainer, we can have every answer in the book, but the most important thing for us is learning application, but not just application, it's gaining trust from the clients we work with. And if you can't gain trust and build a relationship with clients, you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can have the best six-pack, the biggest biceps, it means nothing. There's a lot of background work that you need to do to be a success and to make an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, with this whole thing, then you reflect on the style you train, because for myself, I don't do this online coaching. Jamie, another friend of mine, we see that. Well, my downside is I see it as when I train my client, I've got to a point where I know that they're good enough to do certain movement at home, squat, deadlift, presses, and pulls. They should be bang on technical wise. I'll just give them the program and they'll get on with it. But he made a good point. Some clients aren't verbally, good with verbal instruction. They have to be a physical instruction. Yes, definitely. That's a thing. Have you thought about that kind of things with your online?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to do kind of online coaching a different way to what most people do. Okay. I mean, my girlfriend's done a bikini competitor show before, and when we spoke through like a program that she did previously, it was literally like a written program that was given to her. The coach had never really seen her train before. It was just 5 sets of this, certain movements, etc. There wasn't really much demonstration. And what I wanted to do with my online coaching is develop not just kind of exercise videos and kind of demonstrations that people can look at, but I wanted to have more personal approach. I wanted to use like Skype, like interaction, try and learn as much about the clients as possible. So it's not just like a generic program I'm giving to people and I'm just trying to shift it out left, right and center without really understanding the impacts that it's got. Yeah. So I'm still probably trying to get my head around some of it now of how it's going to work. I've got 2 online clients who are in Turkey at the moment. Okay. Obviously with down at the moment, it's been difficult to go through that process. But you're absolutely right. People learn in different ways, and from the one-to-one training we do, it is very hard to completely change from seeing someone one-to-one, being able to adapt, touch, move, and affect movements, to then suddenly have an online client. So it's a whole different world, but it's going to take time. But hopefully I'll find the approach that works.
I'm sure you'll find a way to climb around this obstacle.
Yeah. Well, I've recorded about 300 videos now over the last year.
Definitely. Well, definitely get you back on here. Give us the link, and then we'll go from there, buddy.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, but it's let's say I think there's always going to be a lot of business for one-to-one personal training, as you say, because people not just from the physical aspect of learning that way, but people like to interact with someone and to be motivated and inspired by someone, and it's very hard to do that online. So you can have a certain type of client base that's going to be your online client base, but then you're always going to have a core client base that's going to be the one-to-one. And that's what you're probably going to get best results from.
It's bad to say, but I'm definitely old school. I like to see my client. I like to see how their mood is and actually feel what kind of state they're in. I mean, for me, this is the point. Right now, I can't see myself doing this online. I'll probably do it for this few months, but in the future, I'd much prefer this one-to-one or to my clients, really.
I think it's always going to be the core of my business as well. I don't think I can ever get away with it. I mean, even the clients that I'm not training now, I mean, you build up these relationships and you actually end up missing.
I do. You miss the banter, the stuff we always talk about. I mean, there's a guy that we always talk about, like Marvel films, and I know we're talking about Marvels all the time, and all the future Marvel production that's coming up. Cars. I mean, you miss all these conversations because that's my thing with them. It's not just for them; it's for myself. They're there as much for me as much as I'm there for them.
What is the thing? This is where our business is relationships.
Yeah.
We build relationships with these clients over time, and I mean, let's be realistic, they become friends really.
Definitely.
After, and yeah, we end up missing them. So let's just hope that soon we can all get back to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to talk about a little bit, man, if you want to talk about it.
Mm.
Oh, under stress when you're coming away from LA. I'm sure a lot of people's going to be feeling the same right now. There's going to be a lot of stress in people's head, and they're going to feel the financial burden right now, right?
Yeah.
How did you overcome that back then?
When I first left LA. Sorry.
Yeah.
So with the thing with LA with me is that obviously it was a valuable experience, but the stress built up over years, over the 3 years that I was there. And I think the biggest thing for me was I realized I was completely living out of balance. So, I mean, we've spoken, I think, in the past about you're quite big on kind of recovery, sleep, the kind of things that your body needs to kind of combat the kind of stressful activities and train and things that we take on. And I just found that I was too yang. If that makes sense. I was just doing too much. That was just
explain to people what your meaning of yang, or yang in general is first.
So I suppose, well, in a very, very brief overview, you've got yang, which can be your stressful activities. Let's say like we're exercising, we're doing activities that are very, let's say, explosive, dominant. And then yin is the opposite to that. It's the kind of relaxation, it's the unwinding, it's the balance of the two that creates homeostasis within us, like balance. And I just found that I was too much in one direction. I didn't recognize that I wasn't resting enough, I wasn't recovering enough. And the more that I wanted to train harder and study harder and become better and better and better, I then found I was sleeping less, recovering less, I was stretching less, not doing the activities that I needed to do to get the best out of both.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 3 years of that, I just came to a complete point of exhaustion, and it took, as I said earlier, a complete panic attack and complete almost 6 months of severe anxiety to realize that something needed to change. I basically ignored my gut instincts. You know, my body was telling me that you're breaking down mentally and physically. And the way that I had to deal with it was I had to assess what the most important thing for me was. And I either had to make a change with the personal training, cut down the hours, work closer to home, adapt my own training, my own studying, not trying to work so hard. And I came to the decision that I've got an amazing gym that's 5 minutes from my house. Yeah. There was the uncertainty of not knowing if I could build clients. I had to drop a big client base in London to do it, but my gut just told me that I had to make that change because what I was doing wasn't sustainable. Yeah. I suppose similar for yourself, you know what LAX was like. I mean, we had so many people that left after a while to move into different areas. Yeah. It just wasn't a sustainable environment to PT in. So yeah, it took me taking a huge step back to kind of gain perspective on what was most important within my life, because business takes over our life very, very quickly because we have financial commitments that we have to hit, and once we've taken charge of everything that keeps our business afloat, we have a very limited amount of resource to kind of invest in ourselves. And yeah, as soon as I moved to the gym down the road, I suddenly was able to go home for lunch in the daytime. I suddenly had all these extra hours where I could relax, I could meditate more, I could start getting into stretch, different types of activity. I started doing yoga, and it changed my life.
People kind of forget there's all the little things, going home for lunch, being able just to sit down, have a relaxing 5-10 minutes to yourself without people sitting next to you. It makes a big difference.
Well, I tell you what the biggest difference was to me was when we were at LAX, our gym was 2 floors underground. Yeah. So, the winter time would come and you could get in there at 7 a.m. to do a client. You could do 3 or 4 clients back to back. You could have an hour's break where you're kind of working out programs and studying. By the time it gets to the afternoon, it starts getting dark again. You suddenly realize I've seen about 30 minutes of daylight in the day. I haven't even, there's an outside world there that I don't even know exists today. And the difference was the gym I moved to, it was a ground floor gym. I had space. There was a bench outside the gym that I could go and sit in the daytime. In the summer, I could go for a walk, and it was warm, and it was just all those little things that just made me a lot more relaxed, a lot less stressed, and it made me more productive and it grew me as a PT.
Yeah, definitely. People need to enjoy the little things more and value the little things more as well. I think that's a big conclusion we all came to. I mean, being on the ground all day, not going outside and try to train when we're on our breaks, not going out, that takes it out, man. I mean, I think this is why we went for so many coffee breaks with me and the rest of the guys, but you can only go.
I never drunk coffee until I started working up in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never. The first drink I ever had. Do you remember the coffee shop that when we used to come out of the gym? It's just on the left-hand side.
The little one, yeah.
So the first coffee I ever had was a mocha. I went in there, and then I think I ended up having a coffee every day for the next 6 months.
It was good coffee. It was good coffee there.
But it was more the social side, wasn't it? I actually thought that
out of that environment for a little bit. It's just getting out of that environment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. You had to. But I'm surprised you didn't call the podcast "Coffee with Kevin," because I remember how much you used to love your coffee. So.
Oh, mate, we will. It's just at the moment we haven't had time to talk about coffee yet. I mean, we can get into coffee. We're definitely. This show was talk about right now this whole COVID-19 being locked down, how people are adapting, training definitely, jiu-jitsu definitely, and we're going to get a few of my car friends. We're going to talk about cars, coffee friends, right. Getting coffee guys on here. It's going to be quite a broad spectrum of people coming on already. So
yeah, it sounds like a good mix. It's enjoyable as well to chat because when you're chatting to different people, you gain different perspectives on things and you learn something every conversation. So it's enjoyable.
And people will never hear this side of things from a personal trainer, not unless they know you deep down. I personally, I haven't heard anything podcast and how our industry is. They always rave the positive side. What about the negative side? How it is for people like me and you, and who's in the grind every day, and how it takes a toll on us.
Well, the thing is, we're in an age of things like Instagram and Facebook, where everybody just posts their wins. They post the glamorizing side of PT, and it's it's not the reality.
No, it's not reality, man. It's definitely not.
Yeah, but it's just the world we live in at the moment.
Yeah. So you talked about meditation before, right?
Yep.
Well, you're a big advocate of meditation as well.
Yeah, huge. I mean, I became heavily into meditation because it was a tool that I had to explore and use.
Okay.
And there's a few things that I tried when I first started working up in London to kind of calm me down and kind of create that balance between the yin yang.
Yeah.
I started getting into doing a bit of Tai Chi, so that was quite good fun. Kind of learning bits of that, but then I guess meditation kind of come to me because it was something that was just easy for me to do. It's an easy thing for me to kind of switch off with. And I used to meditate most of the time kind of on the train home at the end of the day to switch off from the information I've taken in, to kind of give my body and mind a chance to rest. And then I started to understand the kind of physical effect that it had on me. So as I started to meditate, I started to understand how my breathing rate drops, heart rate drops, you become more relaxed, you become more focused, more incisive. And it's just something which I've done for the last few years now. It's a powerful tool. I've actually tried dynamic meditation. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I'll explain a little bit.
So you heard of Osho before?
No.
So Osho is almost like this mystic kind of spiritual character, and he has this active meditation, which is almost like meditation for Westerners. Okay. Because over in the West, we are so kind of, how do you put it? We're not very intuitive with things like meditations. It's very hard for a Westerner to kind of switch off because we have so many distractions. And basically what dynamic meditation is, it's a meditation through the body. So it's a form of, you can call it like dance or movement, but you go through this rhythmic kind of breathing and rhythmic kind of like movement that completely exhausts your body out. And after kind of 15, 20 minutes of doing it, you get to the point where your body's so exhausted that your mind goes very clear and blank. And I remember that I did an actual hours dynamic meditation in a group in London.
Okay.
We have 15 minutes of kind of like hyperventilating breathing. You then have 15 minutes of a complete improv dance. So you feel like a complete tit doing it when you start. But after a little while, your body just starts moving very intuitively to the music. And the rule is that you don't try and dance to it, you just try and move to the music.
Yeah.
15 minutes after, a very rhythmic heel stamp. So you're kind of stamping your heels, sending vibrations through your body.
Yep.
And then after 45 minutes of completely exhausting your body through breathing and moving, you just have this complete space that comes into your head, because your body hasn't been thinking about anything for 45 minutes. Your body is just completely charged with energy. And then they get you to lie down, and I kid you not, it's the most deep meditation you can ever go into, because you just can't think. There's nothing coming into your mind, and you just have this insane kind of sense of kind of like peace and happiness and clarity. It's incredible. And it's a form of meditation for people that struggle to kind of sit down, switch off from the thoughts that are coming into their mind. So there's some powerful forms out there. I have to send you some information on it.
I mean, like, you can go back to the Chek thing as well. And, are you familiar with the work with Idal Portal? Animal working and animal movement.
Sorry, say that again.
Are you familiar with the work with Idal Portal?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So between him and Chek, they big emphasis on movement, right? And this goes back to your active meditation. It's almost similar to an active meditation if you think about how you normally would train.
Yep.
So back in the old days, we used to go through the whole animal movement, really touching ground, making sure you feel everything through your feet, feel everything through your hands, going through all of it, right? And then you go into your breathing. But if you're doing this correctly, you're almost shutting the world off by yourself, going through, moving, animal-like. And then, like you said, you were going into this trancey state where you're flowing. So what I would personally now call it flowing, or just doing whatever you feel like your body needs and whatever movement you feel your body needs to go into, and that you don't normally do because you're so stuck in this dimension, right? And you after that, your body do feel tired, definitely feel so tired. Then you're trying to control your breathing, calming back down. And that's a good entire workout. I mean, I don't call it active meditation, but it's a similar state. I'm looking at it into a similar state. You're moving, you're just controlling breathing, calming back down, and then just figure out what's been happening, how you're going to conduct your day. And just the mindset, right?
That's it. I mean, one of the things that I learned from actually developing quite severe anxiety to the point where I'd had my first panic attack. I didn't know what was happening. I actually thought I had a heart attack at the time. Was I had to learn coping mechanisms to deal with anxiety when it rises. And a lot of the coping mechanisms is about getting into your body, and it's about cutting your head from your body, because your head becomes very focused on problematic things and solutions, and we start going through these thought processes every single day. And if you think about it, you can't actually dictate what thoughts come into your head. We have thoughts that come in constantly. It's how we react to them that makes a difference. So a lot of ways that you deal with anxiety is through movement. And I used to kind of throw and catch tennis balls if I felt like I was anxious, because it distracted my mind. And it's the same as when we train and when we exercise. That's why it's such a impactful thing with things like depression, anxiety, because we're distracting our brain from the stress that it's thinking about. We're getting into our body and moving, and we're actually meditating without realizing. And it's 100% right.
And it's one of them things people don't want to talk about, but it happens way more often than people realize. It's how we deal with it. At least we kind of like in touch with our own body and our mind kind of thing to deal with it. But man, I feel so bad for the people who just holds it all in. Imagine carrying that stress and carrying that weight with you all the time, man.
What
advice would you give them? What advice would you give them personally?
Well, I guess it's hard, because I think a lot of this stuff needs to be taught to us. I think we need certain role models within our society that can talk about things and educate people from a young age. I mean, you look at the education system. I mean, we're so taught to develop ourselves mentally, but we're not really taught anything physically on how to deal with stress or how to deal with depression, anxiety, these sorts of things. And I think the bigger picture is we need to learn this from a young age of how to express our body. But the advice I give to people that are struggling heavily with anxiety and depression is to seek help from people that have been through it. Is there's tons of things. I mean, I never knew until I looked online certain things as to find help from people, that there's a lot of people that are giving free information out there. You just got to try and find it. And I found these distraction methods through YouTube videos, through looking at people that have had experiences before, through studying people like Osho with dynamic meditation. So the information's there, but it's just about sourcing and finding it. And you know, we're seeing a big kind of movement now with like depression and suicide, especially in males and people that don't seek help because they feel like they're on their own. And I think it's the thing that people need to realize. There's people there's millions of people that are having the same experiences as you, but it's not weird that you're having it because you don't hear it spoken about. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I want to add to that is just, even though we're talking about meditation, people may have a misconception of what meditation is. If meditation, the way we do it, doesn't work for you, find a different way of coping with it. There's always ways to go around this. Don't think there isn't no help out there for you. There's definitely something. You just need to find the right combination with the right time and the right coach, or not even coach. I mean, you see therapeutic dogs and therapeutic horses, man. I mean, there's ways and things to go around things. Just don't lose hope.
One of the biggest things that I found that's been an incredible form of meditation for me recently is just going for a walk. Yeah. I mean, we're confined in our houses. I mean, I've got some great parks that are close by. There's no one really about, and it's been beautiful weather. Yeah. And me and my girlfriend be going out walking, and it's just beautiful just to be in nature, just the smell that rises in the morning, to hear the kind of wind rustling leaves. It's all these things that we take for granted that we never really do, but it's a form of meditation. We're getting into our senses, and distracting ourselves from the stresses that we have on a daily basis.
I think it's the first time in a long time, like our generation and the generation before, we can actually do things without abiding by the watching the clock. I'm sure you can go for a walk. I mean, yes, it's meant to be like a sociable hours down there, but if you guys take an hour walk and you don't have to be somewhere, you don't have to get to a session or get back for lunch, man, it's a freeing experience. You feel like you're actually living and being human again.
Well, the thing is that we're kind of living in a society now where we're becoming more diseased, we're more ill, we're more stressed, there's more problems, more people taking medications and drugs, and just a simple thing like this kind of lockdown to give people perspective of like the pace of life has just dropped dramatically. And all right, there's a lot of people that are extremely fearful and extremely stressed at the moment, probably because they're watching the news. They're kind of keeping a very close eye on what's going on. But for the people that can kind of take a step back and use the time to kind of re-energize themselves and get closer to nature and be distress themselves, it gives us a perspective that this is the pace of life that, you know, is it works for us. You know, this is the pace of life that will cause people to be less stressed, that will cause illnesses to drop, that will put less strain on NHSs. But the problem is that it's how we react after this. I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from people to adapt to this, to say, okay, you know, I can take a step back and realize that I was working too hard, or, you know, I wasn't paying enough attention to my health in terms of my diet, because there's a huge thing now that we've suddenly faced with this illness that our only defense is our immune system. People are panicking. You know, people are like, oh shit, my immune system is not strong enough. And it's like, well, this is the system that's developed for millions of years to kind of get us through these things. But because there's not a vaccination or not a medication that we can take, you know, it's this huge fear. And don't get me wrong, it's a huge pandemic, but this is the time where people can take charge of their health and say that if anything like this ever arises again, I'm going to make sure I'm in the best condition that I can be. Because we look at things like stress. You just look at what the impact that stress has on your immune system.
Yeah.
It's
let's talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, we don't take enough time to figure out our stress. Now we've got time to actually download and deload, keeping our mind sane, and go into this not a stressful mode. I mean, I really do hope people are less stressed and trying to keep this calmness and apply it after when we get back out again.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's with every catastrophe, there's a silver lining at the end, and you know, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this. I think. And one of the big things is that I don't think the way that we live is sustainable at the moment. I think that
we're not meant to do this, and we're not meant to like wake up at 6 o'clock and work till like 12 o'clock in the midnight, go for a couple of hours sleep because you can't get back to sleep, and then you can get back in front of your computer screen to get ready for work for the next day. And I'm sure like you've got clients who's like that, sleep a couple of hours a night and they function. They somehow make it work.
The thing is adrenaline is an amazing hormone in our body, and it will keep us going constantly all the time that we think we have to work a specific way. And most of it is fear-based. We get up. So, most of us are working 12, 13-hour days to pay for a mortgage, to pay for things, to look after the family, to do this. And there's a lot of stress that's there that doesn't need to be. So hopefully in years to come, this type of experience will start to change people's mentality, because, as a population, we have the power to kind of develop ourselves in whatever way we want. And we're only as strong as our weakest link. And at the moment, we're showing that as a population, we're not strong enough to kind of deal with these types of catastrophes. I mean, you look at the fear that's going through the whole nation, the whole world. There needs to be a big change in terms of people's health and perspective.
We definitely do. I mean, you look at this stress level that you were on about, the stress level in your immune system. You kind of understand that your immune system is linked up to your stress level and how it deteriorates because of the amount of stress your body's going through.
Yep.
Imagine when people realize if they're less stressed, their general health is going to shoot up massively, increase. Stress is across all this information, but people don't want to hear it when they're making money, right? But now they haven't got that, what do you call it, that noise in the background, the money for the noise, and they have to reflect on this.
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, what's the point in having £1 million in the bank if you don't live enough years to see it? And the most important thing that anybody can have in life is happiness. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how many assets you have, what you do. If you're not happy with what you're doing, then there's no point. Well, no, there's no point doing it. But there's ways around it. Yeah. And I think this is for me, the thing that I hope comes out of it, that people realize that health is linked to happiness, and health is linked to being less stressed, looking after yourself with the food that you eat, with the types of things you can do with exercise, with movement. And I think for our business, at least, it's going to have a positive impact, because people are going to start realizing that like our immune system are the things that we rely on a daily basis, are things that we really need to take care of. There's no drugs that can combat this. There's no we're looking at vaccinations being ready by September and things like that, and it's like, we're built with these mechanisms to cope with this. We've done it for all the time we've evolved. We've done it for millions of years. We don't need medications and drugs to get over this type of thing. Yeah,
up to a certain point, definitely. I mean, from a natural side of things, our body needs to have this immunity to this, right? But at the same time, the medication do have to come in maybe up to a certain point.
Well, the thing is there's a lot of vulnerable people, and this is the problem, and it's really sad. I mean, there's always going to be the risk groups that really probably do need this type of medication to come in. But for the vast majority of us, we shouldn't be so fearful. We should use this to take the opportunity to take care of ourselves. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is look after yourself, and nature will look after you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
I mean, the food, that's another subject. I mean, you'll be on this, because I know you're a little bit checky as well. The food that we eat isn't as high quality as it used to be, right? There's no way, and people can't deny the quality is different.
No.
And if you're eating out, being in the city or being at work, if you're eating out all the time, there's no way you can control the quality of vegetable, quality of meat, or quality of the way it's being cooked. Right?
Not at all.
Is there any way you would give advice to your clients or anyone who's listening?
Joe, one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give is to try and become aware of how you feel when you eat certain foods.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people have intolerances that they don't actually realize. I mean, one of the things that I always assess, if my energy is very low, if I get bloating or inflammation from certain foods and things, you know, it's a big highlight to me that that food does not work well with my body.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people would benefit from becoming a little bit more in tune with what they put into their bodies. And I think it comes down to education. So we're in an industry where we study heavily into health and nutrition and things, so we understand things on a deeper level. But a lot of kind of young people kind of growing up, they don't really receive this type of information, so they don't understand the risks of eating things like refined sugars. They don't understand how, you know, vegetables are not all supposed to look exactly the same and be packaged and have chemicals sprayed on them and things like that. That it comes down to an education basis, and obviously with our industry we try and educate our clients and kind of pass that knowledge on. But yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice, is just to become aware of how you feel when you eat foods. I know, for example, when I eat meats and I eat kind of fresh fruits and vegetables, I feel energetic, I feel great. But if you stick a pizza down my throat, or, you know, if I'm eating like a shitload of kind of refined sugars and chocolate and stuff, like I don't want to move for the next 3 or 4 hours. So I think the whole process is just becoming more in tune with our bodies and understanding that, you know, there's certain things that benefit our health and there's certain things that add to the stress of our body.
Yeah. The thing is, well, let's talk about the little inflammation thing. I think people have a misconception what inflammation is with the diet. It's not necessarily coming up with a massive beehive or like a massive swelling of your head or your neck, like a full-on allergic reaction, right?
Yep.
Right. And what's the best way to explain it? You have niggly pain that you normally wouldn't have when you eat these certain food, or the basic one, the really easy one to tell. I mean, if I have a beer, like a low quality beer at least, right, my stomach will swell up then and there.
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean I drank because I drank a pint, or is it because of me having a reaction to the beer?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for me, my perspective, I'm definitely having a reaction to a beer. It's not just because I drank a pint of liquid, right? But people need to, well, they need to start being a bit more conscious of how they feel and what's happening to their own body.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is that when we start looking on a deeper level to how foods affect our brain, and we start looking at things like, I mean, there's studies that show that sugar can be more addictive than things like cocaine.
Man.
And
I don't believe that, but
I don't believe it. But the thing is that we do start becoming kind of almost like, it's strong to say addicted to foods, but, you know, our brain starts craving certain things, and we have to kind of go through the process of kind of consciously becoming aware of the foods we're eating and not giving into the automated process of grabbing foods when we feel tired, like chocolates and snacks and stuff, because it just becomes like a cycle. We just get into this cycle of eating and eating. And, you know, certain diseases and illnesses, they take years to develop in the body. And, you know, if you're eating bad in a bad way, in this kind of catastrophic way for kind of 10 to 20 years, you know, it's going to have huge effects on your health further down the line. But the most important thing is that everybody can take charge of what they consume, and everybody can change their health instantly, even within a few days, just by eating the right things and becoming aware.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this analogy, isn't it? If you're eating McDonald's every day, you wouldn't know how bad your body feels. Whereas when you come away from eating it, and then you start eating, I don't know, homemade burgers instead of like these factory-made burgers, then you start feeling the difference, and you start understanding why we preach about this eating better, eating cleaner, and finding food that works for you, and not just eating for the sake of eating.
Of course. But the thing is that one of the most important things to our health is the environment of our body. I mean, if the environment of your body isn't quite right, then disease can manifest, viruses can manifest, and viruses can take effect. I mean, the important thing to note from this type of virus is that a virus doesn't want to kill you. A virus wants to live inside you and reproduce, the same as what every other living organism does. So the last thing a virus wants to do is kill you. Yeah. But if your environment of your body isn't quite right and you can't cope with the mechanisms, if your immune system's not strong enough, if you're not fueling your body in the right way, then the environment of your body, not so much the virus that kind of has negative effect. And it's we've got millions of trillions of bacteria in our body that, you know, and we've got to feed them in a way to support the good bacteria in our body. You know, you wouldn't put like olive oil in your car, would you? to drive it.
The right fuel, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it the right stuff. Yeah,
it's this under recovery, and I mean, it goes back to this recovery thing again, doesn't it? You're running in the red zone all the time and not giving enough time to cool down and repair and change the oil and do all the things that you need to do. Your body's going to break. Your body doesn't run in the red forever and ever. You can push it, you can take the chance on it, but it's going to break one day.
So eventually it gets there. So it's as I say, I think that we're going to see a big change over the coming years.
Yeah.
In the
hope so. I really do hope we will actually see this in a positive way, though.
Well, the thing with me is that one of the most frustrating things from us is that we know that there's these companies that profit from, you know, the sickness of medications and health, and it's sad. And the real thing that I wish they would be pushing now, because there's this huge fear-based thinking around the globe when everybody's kind of reading into this coronavirus and reading into the viruses. I don't see much information coming from the governments of how to protect yourself and your immune system through the ways of living. You know, I mean, I got a letter through the post from Boris Johnson the other day about staying home and the importance of that, which is great. But, you know, maybe attach to that some things that actually help people become healthier, and, you know, give them information about how they can protect themselves from these viruses.
In a society when people don't want to take charge of their own health, do they? They want somebody to take care of it. Here's a pill. This will make everything go away. Oh, you're feeling sad? Here, take another pill. This will make all that go away. Oh,
the reason is,
oh yeah, take this pill too.
Because it enables people to live the same lifestyle that they're living. We're thinking, oh, it's okay, it doesn't make a difference, I can take this. But then you take this, it's like if you've got like say like a flood in your house or something, and it's coming from multiple areas, and, you know, you're slapping like tape on one area and then it's coming out somewhere else, and then you slap it in there, but the pressure is going to come out somewhere else. And it's, unless you deal with the actual problem that's causing the flooding or causing the issue, you know, you're never going to. It's another problem that's going to arise further and further down the line. So everything's a opportunity to mask something and kind of get us to live the same mundane kind of lifestyle and kind of ignore the process that we are no different to any other animal on the planet. We have fundamentals that we need to deal with. We have health that we have to take care of first. But I think sometimes we think that we're separate from the planet we live on, we're separate from nature, and we kind of think that, oh, it's all right, we're human beings, we're clever, we can come up with a way to kind of like bypass natural processes of the body and natural processes of the planet. And it's like,
that's what they do, and that's what they're heading for, aren't they? We want to make superhumans with limitless capability, minimal sleep, and function to the highest performing. I'm sure they'll get something like that, but until that happens,
it's starting to sound like a Marvel movie, isn't it? Really, we're kind of trying to create superhumans.
They want a superhuman. I'm sure certain countries will be trying to develop that.
Yep.
Well, they have, and there's the truth to that somewhere. But yeah, man. I mean, thanks for your time, man. I mean, this has been a really good interview, man. I mean, like, it's been a good insight of how you've been as a trainer, and the mental aspect of our industry. I mean, yeah, it's been great. I want to get you back on here again very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, a few weeks time, month, whenever, I'll be more happy to come. It's been nice because it's been 4 years maybe since we've seen each other.
Yeah. Once this is over, we're all going to have a gathering anyway. A gathering of like either Turkish food or dim sum.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, have you got a favorite restaurant that you want to go to right now?
Do you know what? It's funny because it's quite interesting, because I've been speaking, me and my girlfriend have been speaking quite in depth about this, because we've been home quite a lot. And, you know, I think the thing we're actually most looking forward to is just getting out for the social side of being out and about. There's not really a food I'm craving, but I've actually just enjoyed being creative and kind of eating healthy at home.
Man.
So I don't know, how about yourself?
I'm becoming a master chef right now.
Yeah,
man. I'm cooking every day, and it's giving me time to try new recipe and trying to alter the recipes, man. It's brilliant.
Nice. It's good. Yeah, it's good to hear. You're looking well. You're looking positive.
Thank you. Yeah, man. Thank you. And on that note, I'll see you later, and keep safe, buddy.
Yep. You too, mate.
Thanks.
Catch you soon.
See you later.
See you, mate.